everyone. Happy Saturday. I am coming to you here from the Three Forks Nature Center, and you can see some of our dioramas behind us. We're changing out the scenery a little bit, and you may have tuned in previous weeks and seen Mrs. Sandwick, our camp host, come to read stories to you. This week we have a special guest, Mama, who is going to come and read you stories about possums. And then after she's finished reading you stories, we will do a possum craft and talk about all things possum. Don't play possum, pay attention, and I'll see you in a few minutes.
Good morning, Mama Possum here. I am so glad to be with you. One of my favorite things because I love possums. Can you see my possum? This is Opossums, my baby boy. And today we're gonna read all about my baby boy. And we're gonna see some wonderful illustrations that are by Janet Stevens, who I was so lucky to get to know in my library career. She came to us from Boulder, Colorado, and actually visited several times. And I have a couple of her books that I'm gonna be doing over the next few weeks. Our book today was written by Colleen Sally, and of course, it's about my baby boy. It's about Opossums. Here he is, Opossums. Wonder why the front of the book has all these pies. They sure look good though. Opossums, written by Colleen Sally and illustrated by my friend Janet Stevens. Here's baby Opossums. Is he not just the cutest little thing you ever did see? I certainly think so. Opossums is his mama's and his auntie's sweet little patootie he is. They just love him to death. Opossums used to go see his auntie almost every day, and she nearly always gave him something to take home with him. One day she gave him a piece of rich gold cake. Opossums took it in his hand, he scrunched his hand up tight, and he went on along home. On his way home, he passed Alligator, and Alligator asked,
"What you got there, Opossums?"
"It's cake," he replied.
Don't look much like cake though," said Alligator.
When Opossums got home, his mama looked at his fist full of crumbs, and she said, "Why, I do declare, Opossums, what have you have in your hand?" "Cake, Mama. Auntie gave it to me." "Oh, Opossums, you don't have the sense you were born with. That's no way to carry cake. The way to carry cake is to put the cake on your head. So, put a hat over your head and then come on along home. Now, do you hear me, Opossums?" "Yes, Mama." And so Mama took her hat with her flower and she put it on Opossums. Oh, he went visiting his auntie, and this time she gave him a pound of freshly churned butter to take home with him. Opossums put it on his head, and he put a hat on his head, and he went along home. On his way home, he passed Raccoon, and Raccoon asked, "Hey, what you got there, Opossums?" "Butter," he replied. Don't look much like butter to me," said Raccoon. When Opossums got home, his mama looked at it, and she said, "Why, Opossums, what in the world do you have in my hat?" "Butter, Mama. Auntie gave it to me." "Oh, Opossums, that's no way to carry butter. The way to carry butter is to wrap it up in some leaves and carry it down to the brook, and you cool it with the water, and you cool it with the water, and you cool it again with the water, and then you take it up very carefully in your hands and you come along home. Now, do you hear me, Opossums?" "Yes, Mama." By and by on another day, when Opossum was visiting his auntie, she gave him a sweet little puppy to take home with him. So Opossumandus wrapped it in some leaves, carried it down to the brook, and he cooled it in the water, and he cooled it in the water, and he cooled it in the water, and then he took it up carefully into his hands, all wrapped in leaves, and he went along home. On his way home, he passed Nutria, and Nutria asked, "Hey, what you got there, Opossumandus?" "It's a puppy," he replied. Don't look much like a puppy to me," said Nutria. Look at the puppy. When Opossumandus got home, his mama looked at that poor little bedraggled puppy, and she said, "Opossumandus, what do you have in your hands?" "It's a puppy, Mama. Auntie gave it to me." "Oh, Opossumandus, Opossumandus, you don't have the sense you were born with. That's no way to carry a puppy." "The way to carry a puppy is to put the puppy on the ground, tie a piece of string around the puppy's neck, and take the piece of string and come along home. Do you hear me now, Opossumandus?" "Oh, yes, Mama." Well, by and by on another day, when Opossumandus was visiting his auntie, this time she gave him a freshly baked loaf of bread to take home with him. Opossumandus put the bread on the ground, tied a piece of string very carefully around it, took the other end of the string, and went along home. On his way home, he passed an armadillo. An armadillo asked, "Hey, what you got there, Opossumandus?" "Bread," he replied. Don't look much like bread to me," said Armadillo. When Opossumandus got home, his mama looked at the thing on the end of the string, and she said, "Opossumandus, what do you have on the end of that string?" "Bread, Mama. Auntie gave it to me." "Oh, Opossumandus, Opossumandus, you don't have the sense you were born with. You never did have the sense you were born with. You never will have the sense you were born with. Now, I'm not telling you any more ways of bringing stuff home. And I don't want you going to see your auntie either. I will go see her myself." And Opossumandus, Mama got her basket, but before she left, "Opossumandus, do you see these 6 beautiful pies cooling on the porch?" "Yes, Mama." "Well, Opossumandus, you be careful about stepping on those pies." Then Mama went off to see her auntie. And then Opossumandus was very careful about stepping on those pies. He stepped in the middle of the blueberry, then the cherry, and then the apple. He is, after all, Mama's sweet little patootie. And I have another book I'm not going to read today, but I just want to show this. This is a book that I loved when I was a librarian, and I actually bought this one. I'm planning to give it to my granddaughter. But this is one of the best-selling authors, Holly Sloan, and I know her as well. And this is about Possum Apple Blossom. So it is a chapter book. So for some of my older listeners, I thought you might enjoy this. It's Apple Blossom, the Possum. I hope you have a wonderful week and you're getting ready to make a fun craft. Looks just like my Opossumandus.
Thanks, Mama. Hopefully Mrs. Sandwick can come back with us next week, but I'm glad that Mama Opossum was able to fill in the meantime. So we are going to work on our possum craft now. And if you know me, then you know I love all animals, but I especially love animals that are misunderstood. So what that means is animals that maybe contribute something awesome to what we do, but we as humans might think that they're gross or ugly or dirty, or all of these things that often aren't true. Some examples are, let's think. So like house centipedes, those ones that have the long, really spindly looking legs and crawl around. Maybe they're in your bathroom or on your ceiling. Actually, those aren't a harm to us, but they are eating other things that could be a harm to us. But they do look kind of scary. And I understand that too, because I was scared of them when I first saw them until I read and I learned more about them. And I was 28 when that happened and thought, oh, wow, those are actually really cool. And they're taking care of things that I could be scared of. And so I think it's important for us to learn, because by learning and accepting that we were wrong, we sometimes not only gain a lot of cool new facts, but we gain an appreciation of these animals that are so important to our ecosystems. And so one of those underappreciated or misunderstood animals are the possum. I think they're cute, but I know I'm weird. And so maybe you think they're kind of scary looking, or that they hiss, or they're ugly or kind of gross. But actually, they're amazing. So we're gonna start today with a toilet paper tube and some paint. And I mixed black and white paint, or if you have gray paint at home, you can start with that. So I'm gonna mix it up to a nice gray color to be the color of their fur. So they are mammals, which means they give live birth, they have fur, they're warm-blooded, or what we call endothermic. They make their own body heat. So I am going to paint their nice fur this gray color. And they are nocturnal, so this gray color helps them blend in at nighttime. I'm gonna paint my whole toilet paper tube. And they are mammals, like I said, but when we classify things, when scientists classify things, they can be a whole lot of things at once. Let's think like, so you are a mammal, right? You're a vertebrate. That's even a bigger classification than mammal. So vertebrates are all things that have a backbone. So turtles, fish, snakes, squirrels, like all of those things have a backbone. And then we'll say mammals, so things that have fur, create their own body heat, and give live birth. And then under that is more classifications. And so it could be rodent, which are one of my favorite groups. So rodents have squirrels and marmots and beavers and rats and mice. But possums fall under marsupial. And they are the only marsupial in the United States. So I'm done painting my toilet paper tube here. But there are some famous marsupials in other places. So you might think of a kangaroo. And kangaroos are marsupials as well. And just like kangaroos, the young of possums are called joeys. So now I'm going to cut a little triangle, and that will be our possum's face. So possums have kind of a white face, and they have a long, pointed nose that's pink and doesn't have any hair on it. So they have kind of this pointy face, like the shape of a triangle. And so while this paint's still wet, I'm gonna try and lay it on here, but I might need some glue later. And then I have a pipe cleaner. One of the really cool things about possums is they have what we call a prehensile tail. I'm gonna cut my pipe cleaner in half here, so it's about the same length as the possum's body. And what prehensile tail means is it's not just like your dog's tail that wags, or even like a beaver tail that is used for a lot of things in their life, but can't grab onto things. Prehensile tails have enough structure and movement within them that they can be used to hang on things or even pick up small things. And this is handy for the possums because they're what we call semi-arboreal. So the word semi, or we might use hemi, means half or part. So semi means partly, and arboreal means trees. So you might have heard of an arborist is someone who works on trees, or Arbor Day, we celebrate trees. So arboreal means living in trees, and they're semi-arboreal. So you'll see them on the ground, but then also a lot of times they'll live in trees too. And so we are going to give it this prehensile tail, just like that snout I talked about. It's pink and hairless. And then they also have some hind feet that are hairless, and their hind feet have opposable opposable digits. So just like our thumb, they have one on their hind feet that is opposable. It sits kind of like our thumb, doesn't go the same direction as all the fingers, it sits like this. And so when you're looking at tracks in the mud and you see some funny ones that kind of look like human hands but little, and there's 4 of them, it's probably a possum. So like I said, they have joeys. I might need some help with my glue. And their joeys, they have 8 or 9 joeys, and they can nurse up to 13 at a time. And if you know the word gestation, or it's the same as being pregnant. So humans are pregnant for 9 months. You might know that elephants are pregnant for 1 year. And maybe you had your dog or your cat had kittens or puppies. You know, they're not pregnant for a whole 9 months. But they're pregnant for still a good amount of time. Eggs incubate for, anywhere from 15 to maybe 60 days. Possums have a gestation period, which means they are pregnant for 13 days, which is hardly any time at all for a mammal. And they have all their little joeys, and you might know they still hang out in their mother's pouch. And they have to because they're so little and don't have any fur or anything when they're born. So I'm having some glue issues here. So we have our triangle on the face for our possum here. And then I'm going to stick our prehensile tail in the back here. And then if you have some googly eyes, you can add them to the front. So we were talking when we started about misunderstood or underappreciated animals. And I hope that you already think that possums are cute just from our craft working with them. But another reason that they're really important to have is that they do not carry rabies or a lot of other diseases that we as humans can get. And they eat things like ticks. They eat so many ticks. And so by having these possums, which are nocturnal, so they're in your yard at nighttime, you might not even ever see them, they're there and eating all the ticks for you. They're cute, they don't harm you at all, and also they're doing a great service to your yard. You might have heard the term playing possum, and that does come from these guys. There's a bunch of different possums in the world, but here we have Virginia possums or opossums, and what they do is they play dead. So when they see a scary predator, scientists are kind of unsure of why they do it. Some think that they do it on purpose because animals don't want to eat something that's dead. Most animals don't. Others think that it's involuntary. They don't have a choice, and they fall over dead and go into a kind of coma so that an animal won't mess with them. So they'll fall on their backs and they play dead. So if you've ever heard the term playing possum, that's where that comes from. So I hope you learned something about possums today. Let me know if you see some out and around your yard. It's really important when you're driving at nighttime to be on the lookout for possums so we don't hit them in the road. Because a lot of times those mothers, they can have like 3 litters of joeys a year. So they might have little joeys in their pouch. So we don't want to hit them on the road, and we want to take care of them so that they can be our natural pest defense in our yard and eat our ticks for us. So let me see your possum crafts when you finish, and let me know what you think about their prehensile tails, and if you would want a prehensile tail that could grab onto things and hang from trees. And I hope you have a great week and get to see some of our underappreciated friends, the possum.